Aloha, movie geeks. Welcome to Aloha, movie lovers. I'm Matthew Salanoa, and I just came back from The Accountant 2. Or is it The Accountant Squared? I liked it. No, fuck, this is bad. I liked The Accountant. I liked The Accountant 2. I liked it. No. God, you gotta try this again. God damn it. Aloha, I liked The Accountant 2, and you should. Damn it. Got it. Come on, just do it. Just do it. Aloha, and I like The Accountant. God damn it. Come on. Aloha, film lovers. Welcome to New Movie Tuesdays. I'm Matthew Salanoa, and on this podcast, it's Tuesday, and I've seen a new movie. And I almost called this $5 Movie Tuesdays because technically I am broke as a joke right now. I am still looking for work, but what money I can squeeze out of my wallet, I am trying to see a new movie to keep this podcast thing going. This is my new podcast, New Movie Tuesdays, where if it's a Tuesday and I've seen a new movie, I've got something to tell you about. And in this case, it's a $5 Tuesday. That's also why it's Tuesday. If your theater has this option available and you are like me, broke as a joke, but you still want to catch a movie on the big screen, look around for that $5 Tuesday deal. It's a matinee deal. That's how I've been able to see movies for the last year. We know the economy is bad, so that's my little push, my little recommendation. You know, if you got to see it and you only got $5, you can still catch a movie. So, The Accountant 2, that's what you want to hear about, right? Was it good? Hey, weird bearded man who likes action movies. Is this a good action movie? Yes, it is. And you know what? This one has a nice story to it. I like Ben Affleck. He's back as the accountant, and with all his character mannerisms, and I forgot. I actually, I did see the first Accountant in theaters. I remember enjoying it. I just don't remember anything that happened except that he was a bit odd, and he's either a high functioning autistic or he has some kind of condition that makes him like this savant with numbers and studying evidence and all this, and yet he just has that a sort of natural social awkwardness that he can't get out of. And what's cool about the story in this one is that it has nothing to do with the main plot, but at least it's cool that in this one he's really trying to challenge himself. He's trying to find love. John Bernthal plays his brother. I don't remember if he showed up in the first movie or not, honestly. It sounds like he did, but I don't remember. But he's also looking for love in a different kind of way. I'm not going to spoil that, except in the spoiler section. And I just dug it. I dug the two of them together. It takes a minute for them to team up, but as soon as they team up, the movie goes from an 8 to a 9 or a 6 to a 10. I don't fucking know. I don't do ratings on this show. I just tell you whether I liked it or not. And yeah, I gotta say, no, this movie was funny. I was not expecting all the humor. I remember the first movie having some humor, but this movie, I think because of the situations it puts Ben Affleck and John Bernthal in, I think it really had a great sense of humor. And let me tell you, there's one fight scene that for the most part happens off screen. But all I can say is John Bernthal runs at the camera and it freeze frames. And that is one of the best, funniest moments in this movie. Everything, I couldn't believe John Bernthal, he always plays the hot-headed Shane type of character. It's like, it's basically a typecasting. But, I've seen this guy in different movies. He has a total range. But in this case, they turn Shane into like a lovable character. He is hilarious in this movie. He's really the comic relief brother, because he's you could say a little more on the normal side, I guess, but at the same time, as the characters say, he loves to fight. So, every scene he's in, there's some level of violence that's going to either be revealed or we're going to get to it. And somehow it's still going to be kind of funny. I don't know how else to describe it. We also get the introduction of a femme fatale character who my only complaint is she's not in the movie enough. But at the same time, you don't even realize that this was a nice surprise for me. The whole movie is actually kind of telling her story. You just don't realize it until the reveal happens. So it's like, that's all I'm going to say, because I'm watching the movie and I think I'm seeing one story, and then it turns out to be a different story. And I think that was kind of one of my favorite little parts of the movie, besides John Bernthal stealing every scene he's in, which was great. I mean, just right off the bat, you know, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a director myself of over 17 years. I haven't made it into the industry yet, but I have made an award-winning short film. I've had some fun behind the camera. And so, I love action movies. I got this other podcast where I'm talking all about action movies. But what I appreciate about this one is that it's an easy go time. You don't got to go into this movie, worried is there going to be some just dramatic story where I'm not in the mood for that. You want to have a good time, have a laugh, and see action that's fun for action's sake. And this movie delivers that, but it still has a good story. Like I said, like, we got two brothers looking for love in different types of ways, and you'll get to see them do that. And that's one of the funny parts of the movie, is how they do that with their individual personality quirks. You know what I mean? So that was the treat of the movie, is watching these brothers bump heads. I gotta hand it to director Gavin O'Connor. He was a director he directed Ben Affleck in The First Accountant and in The Way Back. He directed Warrior. I think that's with Tom Hardy. And I haven't seen I haven't seen most of these movies except for The Accountant. But yeah, he's got some good credits on his name. And actually, I hadn't even really thought about who made this movie, but I saw Ben Affleck on Theo Von's podcast, and he was talking about how he likes working with the director, and so that's partially why I'm like, hey, what's this guy been up to? But I haven't seen most of his movies, but after this, maybe I will check out The Way Back or Warrior. It's like, this was a solid flick, and I do remember feeling like there was something missing from the first movie that I couldn't put my finger on, and I feel like this movie had it. And what it had was, I liked that in this movie for sure, Ben Affleck's character he's just challenging his own condition a bit more, and he's trying to open his world up a bit. And then we do have a very cool sleuth detective story going on that just keeps the movie going, and that's really fun. I do want to shout out to our lead actress, Cynthia Adai Robinson. I hope I'm getting your name right. She's basically the FBI character who draws Ben Affleck's character into the story. And then our femme fatale, Daniela Pineda, excellent. I actually kept thinking that she was Florence Pugh for most of this movie, but actually, all of her little moments. And like I said, we don't get enough. I especially when her story is revealed, I'm like, oh, there's not enough of you now. So I'm really hoping that if there's an Accountant 3, that they bring her back and really amp up her action scenes, because that's my only real complaint with this movie. I don't really have a problem with this movie, but I just wanted more action, and it's in a good way. I don't think the movie was boring. I think it was a really fun. The fact that they were so loaded with humor until the action showed up, I was just like, man, I'm not bored for a minute of this. And we were with a pretty filled theater. I do think it was a mostly older crowd, but it was a pretty filled theater, and everyone was pretty much laughing the whole time. Even jokes I didn't think were funny, like the whole theater, like ha ha ha. You know what I mean? Like, people were feeling it. It was a good time. And that's what Accountant 2 is. It's not trying to blow your mind with some kind of new effect or some kind of overwhelmingly dark story, or trying to set up a universe. I think what's cool about The Accountant, what's cool about The Accountant too, I think it just speaks for itself. I don't think you really need to worry about seeing the first one if you haven't. Like I said, I don't remember much of it. So that's what I appreciated going into this movie, that I could just dial right into what Ben Affleck's character was trying to do, because they just put him in a situation right up front in the beginning of the movie that gets you into his condition, what he's like, and what he's after in this movie. And it just lets you know, hey, this is a light movie, this is a popcorn movie. You just kick back and have a good time. Last week I saw Sinners, and you know what, I said, and when I was talking about Sinners, I was saying, was the hype really that, was it really that real? And I thought, when I first was talking about it, I thought maybe the ending was not as good as I thought it was, or whatever. But You know, I've been talking to a friend about it. I've been seeing so many clips of people relating to the movie, and the more I think about how well that movie was put together, I've just totally turned around. Like, no, Sinners was fantastic. So, you know what? If you want that dark, but also just really like that Academy Award winning type of stuff, if you want that kind of movie and you haven't seen Sinners, then by all means go check that out. Or maybe do a double feature. Check out Sinners and check out The Accountant 2 afterward, just to have a chill time. Because The Accountant 2 is it's just an easy, chill, laid back action movie for those of you who you still want a good movie. You still want a good movie that, hey, I'm a filmmaker, I love movies, and my expectation and my belief in what audiences want is, yeah, we pay for the explosions, but what we expect, the bottom line is you write good characters that I can relate to, that I get what's going on with them, and then I want to root for them or not root for them if they're the bad guy all the way throughout the movie. And this movie 100% does that. It's a good action movie because it's got a good story, but it's also, you know, it's just that right amount of good time. So you just get that popcorn, you kick back, you know, you have your Coke or your water, and you have a good time. That's what this movie was. That's what I gotta say, spoiler free. If you even think you're interested, then go check it out. If you like the first one, I do think this is funnier than the first one. I don't remember, but damn, I think this is way funnier than the first one. John Bernthal, again, scene stealer. Hilarious, man. Hilarious. Right from the first scene he's in. And I love the second scene he's in where you don't know what quite is going on right away, and then all of a sudden you find out. It's like, oh, okay. All right. All right. That's what you're about. So anyway, that's my recommendation. Easygoing fun. If that's what you want in the movie theater, I think that's what you're gonna get. And that's what I got to say for spoiler free. If you want to see my spoilers, then wait for the popcorn to stop. You're still here. You must want to hear about the spoilers. And if you didn't watch the movie, you naughty. No, I'm just... All right, so here we are. Spoilers. So if you've seen the movie, I'm gonna be talking about some scenes maybe you remember. If you haven't seen the movie, hey, I still think you should go see the movie. Come back and I'll tell you about some of my favorite scenes and stuff. So, dude, okay, right off the bat, come on, Ben Affleck as Christian Wolf going on speed dating, and not only that, it's revealed across the scene that he has used his skills with math and his intelligence to this is already a speed dating that has some kind of system to generate the highest likelihood that you'll meet the person that you should be with. And then Ben Affleck has taken this algorithm even further and hijacked it with his own algorithm to get the highest likely best dates, and every single one, wow, just fails. And he's so himself, and he's just so passionate about his numbers and taxes, which that part I do remember from the first movie. Like, he's always talking about just numbers and how they work and da 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 da, how you do things, da 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 da. You know, it's like he's almost like a printer. He's like a human printer of knowledge, which is really cool and fun. It's an interesting character. You know, I like, you know, what I realized about it is, you know, he's playing Good Will Hunting, but as a hitman. You know what I mean? It's Good Will Hunting the hitman. You know, it was like he must have also had the high fracture, high functioning, whatever it's called, that our femme fatale has. But I just love that right off the bat, that he's talking to the people who run the thing. And at first I think, oh, was this something they hired him to do? And then I realized, oh no, he's criticizing them because he hijacked their system and then it didn't actually work out for him. And I was like, that's great. Like, this is, again, as a filmmaker, what am I looking for? I'm looking for, where's the character at? What do they want? You know, and if it's a high concept picture, then what they want better be tied to the plot and the emotions and the themes. It's got to be really fucking good. But this is not that kind of. This is a laid back movie. This movie's here for you to just have a good time, but still you got to have that good character writing. So I thought right off the bat, good character writing for Christian Wolf. And then the fact that then we cut to John Bernthal, he's in his underwear on a phone call trying to get a dog adopted 2 weeks early. And but before he even gets that phone call, we have this really fun montage where he's just trying to talk like I'm a friendly guy, and you got to talk to me, right? And I just thought that was great. I mean, that was great. And you know what? There was just a couple moments in there where I kind of bought it. I was like, dude, now I kind of wonder, can you play this role for real in another movie? I just want to see what that looks like. What would John Bernthal look like? Hey, that's a nice guy. He's just, I would never beat anybody up. You know what I mean? And then he's literally smacking himself in the face and screaming, "Fuck, fuck!" Excuse my language, but that was just great. John Bernthal just letting us know right off the top is like, nah, I'm unhinged, but I'm the funny guy of this movie, and it's funny. It's fun watching him. It's the funny Shane. You know what I mean? I messaged my sister saying I was watching this, and I said he's Punishane. It wrote and sounded like puny Shane, but I'm not. He's Punisher and he's Shane. He's Punishane. So that's what I'm calling him for this movie. It's Punishane. He's back. He's back and he's funny. So I just loved the entire introduction, and then his reintroduction when he's talking to that girl, and it's like it seems like it's a date, but she seems like also like she's in her nightgown or something. You're like, what is going on? And he's asking her what her favorite movie is. She's terrified. You're like, why is she terrified? What's going on here? And he gets the phone call. Christian, hey, what are you doing, brother? Be here in 24 hours. You just call me for a job. What the hell? And then he just talks to the girl. He's angry because she won't have a conversation with him. And then he's all pissed off. He's like, man, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. You can't just have a conversation with me. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with people these days? And he just walks out of the scene, and the camera turns, and you just see this just long hallway of dead bodies of all these people he shot, killed, and horrifically murdered on the way to this girl. And clearly she just wasn't the target, but he got the target, I guess, and then the camera follows him into the elevator, and you see just another hallway full of dead bodies. I just thought, this is some of the funniest, best character introduction I've seen in some time. It's just a good time movie, but like that, I really enjoyed how the camera teases us a bit more. I think the first accountant, I can't remember it, but I remember it just being a little bit more straightforward. And I think the fun about this movie is it kind of teases you a bit more. It kind of slowly reveals things in a interesting way. And like I said, there is the sleuthy plot where they're looking for a missing kid, and it ends up being a much larger investigation where actually the grandfather is looking for his missing children or his missing daughter and her family. And it's tied up in human trafficking. But what I love is that we think this femme fatale who appears in the opening scene with J.K. Simmons of all people, hello J. Jonah Jameson. Whiplash is an amazing movie, and J.K. Simmons, in addition to Invincible and many other roles, has many great performances. But I am forever grateful to J.K. Simmons for just nailing J. Jonah Jameson. And I will never forgive the director of Spider-Man with Tom Holland for not giving him the proper wig. How dare you? This is the real J.K. Simmons. You give him a wig if he asks for one. Okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Christopher Nolan. J.K. Simmons said my character wears a wig. You put a wig on his head because he is J. Jonah Jameson. Anyway, this movie opens up with J. Jonah Jameson, and he's the one looking for this kid initially. But then there's the femme fatale, and I thought, oh, okay, interesting. I don't know why. She looks to me a lot like Florence Pugh. Maybe it's just because Thunderbolts is coming out next week, and I cannot wait. But man, I really didn't expect, like, she has this really unraveling story that, it doesn't look like it's about her. We think it's just the victim of the mom of the kid that they're looking for, and it turns out that she they did attempt to kill her, and she just happened to survive. And when she came back as this non-speaking, super intelligent fighter. And I just really liked how that all unveiled. I didn't see it coming. Maybe a smarter person saw it coming. I didn't think that's what the story was going to be. And so, and then immediately, I was already wishing we got more action with her, because, like, clearly she's a cool ass character. And I just think the only thing, and again, it doesn't hold the movie back, but I would totally have appreciated if we just got one cool fight scene with her somewhere in the middle of the movie, or if at least she showed up at the end and was part of the final battle. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would have been really fun. Just because she kicks ass. For what little you get of her in this movie, she kicks ass. And I'm just crossing my fingers. You guys, please, if you do an Accountant 3, or as an accountant to the third power. Hey, this movie starts off with the accountant, and the 2 is above. It's in the squared position, which, again, that's talking about the character. He's got the mathematical mind, but at the same time, the squared position means that technically this is not the accountant 2. It's the accountant squared, guys. So let's just get the title right. I just want to make sure. Okay, I'm a nerd. I'm not the best nerd with numbers. I'm the movie cinema nerd. That's what you come to me for. Is I help people make movies better. But God dang it, this is the accountant squared. I just wanted to make that very clear. That's what this movie actually is called. I like integrity. Okay, I like integrity, and I just want us to be integridal, integridate, integridate, whatever, integrity. And anyway, yeah, her reveal was my favorite part of this movie. And let's see, I think the action was pretty cool. And I gotta say, I appreciate that this movie actually made the villains like real world villains. I really don't remember the first movie. I wish I could. It's killing me now. I don't remember. I feel like the first villain was more of a normal movie villain. I'm not really sure, but I appreciate that the villain of this movie, it's human traffickers. This is a real concern in our world right now. And the only reason I bring it up is because a few years ago, or a couple years ago, the movie The Sound of Freedom came out, and the whole movie is basically a James Bond movie about uh, finding a girl who's been taken by human traffickers. It's a great, wonderful movie. So if, like I said, like, this movie is this is a fun time movie. This is the kickback, have a beer, have a popcorn, having a beer depending on the correct time of day. Now, I'm not saying drink in the morning, because I saw this in the morning. Come on. I'm not encouraging any type of behavior that's not good for you. But I ain't your mama. I ain't your papa. You do what you do. With that being said, this is your kickback movie. This is your have a good fun movie. Before I talk about Sound of Freedom, let me say, Christian Wolf has good taste, because I love, 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 love the bar scene. If you have not seen it, and I'm spoiling this for you, I'm not sorry. Okay, the fact that we set up this movie, the start is he's looking for love, and then we get to the bar scene, and he actually gets a girl's number, but he gets it. He fumbles the ball at first. He gets her to talk to him. He gets her to talk to him, and then he sees her dancing, and her name is Angie, and she is beautiful. I was like, wow, I'm in love too. What the hell? And then he starts going out there and dancing. And I was like, oh, this is what I got to do. Look, I've been looking for love for a long time. And I realized, you know what? There's a line from one of my favorite animated movies, Prince of Egypt, where it's like, look, sometimes you just got to learn to join the dance. And that's 100% what Ben Affleck does. And that is like my favorite scene in this movie, because it's so funny. And you see he's an awkward nerd. He has no style. It drives me nuts. And yet he faced his fears and he got out there and he got her number. And that's the scene where John Bernthal, there's a guy trying to pick on Ben Affleck, say, hey, don't be talking to my girl, I'm not your girl. And then Ben Affleck starts a fight with him on purpose just to make John Bernthal go, hey, what you gonna talk about? And that freeze frame. And then the next shot is like, you see the guy go through a window, and then all of a sudden 2 more guys go through the window. I was like, God damn, this movie is fun. That was just another worth. You know what? Everything with John Bernthal in this movie is worth the price of admission. Okay, that's I don't have a rating system, but I have what's called the worth the price of admission, and all that stuff is great. So that was wonderful. But Sound of Freedom. Now, this is when I'm talking about like a really serious movie where the characters' desires are thematically tied to the plot and story in such a way it's emotional, it's deep, it's Oscar worthy. Sound of Freedom is that movie. But at the same time, what's amazing about that movie, again, it's about Sound of Freedom is about a CIA agent, and it's based on a real story. It really happened. They actually show real footage of the CIA operations shown in the movie at the end of that movie. But this is a movie that it was made 5 years before it came out. No studio would release it until Angel Studios picked it up. And it's about the real life fact of human trafficking. Human trafficking is a serious, massive crime, and it's a massive organized effort that actually involves a lot of, and it happens all around the world, but in America, it happens mainly across the Mexican border, where we have so many undocumented illegals happening, and it's a legitimate concern. I'm not trying to say anything political at all. Just that this movie was trying to talk about a legitimate concern and just inform people about how it happens. And I highly recommend that you just go watch Sound of Freedom. It's a really great movie that really can give you a lot more details about the human trafficking angle that's presented in this movie. In this movie, it's just kind of there to be a villain, but I appreciate that the movie goes there. I appreciate that it touches on the real world a bit and lays some justice on some bad guys. But I just wanted to shout out Sound of Freedom, which I'm sure other movies have tackled it, but this Sound of Freedom was the first movie I'd seen that tackled it, and it was just so real and so raw. And there's podcasts out where the real guy who Jim Caviezel plays in that movie talks about the concerns that this is basically a $2 billion industry, or maybe bigger than that, and literally millions of kids are trafficked into the U.S. every single year for exploitation or stealing their organs, or all kinds of horrible stuff that happens. And basically in the movie, he rescues one kid at the border, but then finds out that his sister is also in the system. And in this movie, in The Accountant, you see human trafficked people are getting tattooed, and that's the same thing that happens to these kids. They get tattooed by whoever buys them, so that you kind of know they're someone's property, and that's what's going on. So I highly recommend, if you do want a more serious movie, it's tasteful the way it does it, because it's such a heavy topic. But it handles it very tastefully. But at the same time, there's a James Bond element to it that I think Sound of Freedom is the future of spy movies. I think if spy movies can aspire to be like Sound of Freedom, they're going to level their game up way more. You got to be a little bit more serious with your storytelling, but I do think Sound of Freedom is like a high mark. I think it's the best spy movie I've seen since, well, I haven't seen that many, but since Casino Royale. I thought Casino Royale was wonderful. So Sound of Freedom, if you're just interested in the topic that this movie brings up of human trafficking, that's an excellent movie to watch. But again, it's very serious. So that's the movie that, you're gonna have to pay attention to this movie, because it's that intense. But again, I appreciate Accountant 2 going in that direction, making the villains real world villains that we can all get behind, need to be stopped in what they're doing. And I just appreciate that, look, you're paying attention to something that actually happens. So I just wanted to say I appreciate the filmmakers for going there. I do think it's a little bit brave, because again, Sound of Freedom was blocked by every single studio. No one wanted to touch it, even though it was made by 20th Century Fox before the Disney acquisition. So I think it's not a very good sign, considering how good the movie was and how actually important it is. it's not a good sign that no studio would release it. So that's real questionable right there. But I'm not really here to get into the politics of it. But I just really want to shout out that movie because I think the Accountant 2, as much as it is a fun movie that's totally popcorny, I think it does do these little subtle things that I think that are fair and that call back to Sound of Freedom. Because I do think as much as movies should be entertaining and fun, and there's room for the more serious movies as well, I always applaud when a movie can, it's not about being political necessarily, but just talking about a real issue in a natural way that fits the movie. And this is something, this is going to sound like a stretch for people, but like the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane has a very abusive father. You only see him once, but you hear him twice, and you just see what she goes through. And if you watch that movie, you watch her date guys who are just, they're not good to her, they don't really care about her, and they're only dating her. Her first boyfriend, Flash Thompson's only dating her to be seen dating the popular girl. And then James Franco's only dating her to make his dad realize he's not a bum who can't succeed at things. And if you really look at it through the character lens of that, like that's, her story is a very authentic story about what some girls go through and just what people go through in the real world. And that's a blockbuster movie about superheroes, but it managed to sneak this very real thing that's both in the comic books, but it's also real life too. And that's why I applaud whenever a Hollywood movie, especially a blockbuster movie like this one, really takes its time to just sneak in a little bit of reality. Because to me, it's like when you see John Bernthal at the end and they've saved the kids, and you see the weight of what he's just participated in, because he was just in it to help his brother. But when he sees all the kids and he realizes, oh, these guys were put in a fucking hole to be killed, excuse my language, it's just, that's heavy, man. And he plays that so raw and real. And you're not going to get that from Christian Wolf because he can't express like that. But when you get it from John Bernthal, who's been making you laugh for 2 hours, I just thought, man, you know what? That's where Hollywood and the real world can meet in the middle without alienating the audience or making the audience just feel, oh God, this is too serious for me. But just enough to let you know, hey, the real world does exist. And, the real heroes of this world are fighting stuff like that. So anyway, hats off to Accountant 2. Great job, casting crew. Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, you god dang scene-stealing mofos. Man, what a good time. What a good time. And Angie, I hope you're doing well. What's up? Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Oh, and a little housekeeping. If you are a filmmaker or you're a new filmmaker, you're just kind of interested, you like action movies, you want to know how they work and how to kind of look at movies like a filmmaker, I've created a new podcast called Action Movies, Storytelling Through Action, where I discuss how I look at movies, my analysis, but also how do filmmakers, I will talk about how filmmakers look at their movies and how they approach their movies. Episode 2 is coming out this week, where I will literally be referring to John Woo's own words about how he made Face Off, which is one of my favorite movies. It's one of the most successful action movies, and he's one of the most famous directors of all time. Face Off is going to be part of the upcoming episode this week, so check that out later this week, episode 2 of Action Movies, Storytelling Through Action. Because I do love movies, and I grew up around filmmakers who were young and learning, and they just didn't understand movies the way I did. Or sure, it's my own point of view, but I just felt like, look, if you're a storyteller and you're not looking at the movie, even though it's a genre movie like an action movie, as a form of storytelling, then you're basically, going into a fight with one hand tied behind your back. You got to really know what you're talking about when you look at these movies. And that's what I want to offer to you young filmmakers out there who might come across this video just looking for a good rec. But at the same time, somewhere inside you want to make movies. You think that's something you want to do. So Action Movies, Storytelling Through Action, that's my new podcast where I just want to help shepherd young minds. And even if you're older and you don't respect action movies very much, I'm hoping to change your mind. So go check that out if you're interested. That's all I got to say for housekeeping. Thank you for checking out New Movie Tuesdays. Hopefully I'll see you next time for some Thunderbolts, man. action movie. It's the summer, baby. I cannot wait for Thunderbolts. This is gonna be awesome. I love the MCU. Cannot wait for this one. Florence Pugh, the whole cast. Winter Soldier's coming back. That's gonna be fun. Ghost is coming back. That's gonna be awesome. I should be naming more people. Everyone in there is coming back. I can't wait to see them. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you next week for Thunderbolts. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you next time. And aloha.